Well, thank you very, very much. Thanks, Calvin, for that. Definitely, the president has got some star power. But thank you, Catherine, also for your words. It is such an honor to be here. And I want to say thank you to all the people who helped organize this wonderful forum. I came for the first time last year, and I was invited by Christine Mesger, who's here, and she is a wonderful, wonderful colleague out on the other side of New Jersey, on the other side of the river. So it is such an honor, and I did not expect. I think last year, around this time when we were at the EI, this had not happened yet. So it's been quite a year of a lot of inspiration, meeting a lot of great people, people of vision, and a lot of entrepreneurs doing all kinds of things. So it's been an exciting time. There is something really special about what the EI Forum is all about, because you just never know what can happen when you get a bunch of entrepreneurs and like-minded individuals in the same room. I'm grateful for this chance to be with so many friends and colleagues, to learn about your work and your vision, and to share in your successes as well as your challenges. I see tonight a room filled with people who share in a vision of entrepreneurship and are working to change the world around them. And I look forward to connecting with you and seeing the various ways we can change the world together and encourage one another and dream big and audacious dreams together. So my name is Alfa Demmellash, as the president says. I am the co-founder and chief executive officer of Rising Tide Capital, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the economic empowerment of low-income communities through entrepreneurship. Through hands-on training and consulting, Rising Tide Capital equips local entrepreneurs in distressed urban communities in northern New Jersey with the skills and tools and resources they need to start and grow successful businesses. Our vision is to harness the entrepreneurial energy that already exists in many of these struggling communities and use it to transform lives and to create thriving, vibrant communities. We are working, you could say, in the field of grassroots economics through our work, though our work is often referred to as micro-enterprise development. I founded Rising Tide Capital in 2004 with someone else here in the room, my husband, Alex Forrester. Alex was a classmate of mine from Harvard University, and together we spent many years talking about ideas. He was a philosophy major, you see, and I was desperately trying to convince him that he was wasting his time in the abstract world of ideas and theories when there was so much suffering and injustice and a lot of concrete work to be done around the world. I was a government major and was intent on discovering the ways that society could be changed to prevent the kind of poverty and violent conflict that I had come to know as a young girl living in Ethiopia. More on that later. Each time we would get into these debates, however, Alex had a response that seemed to have a kernel of truth to it, though I never let him know it. He said that ideas were the things that moved history, that Gandhi and Martin Luther King had not been able to achieve what they did merely through their actions alone, but because they were able to inspire and mobilize millions of people around the world to see the world differently. Civil disobedience, satyagraha, the long arc of history, these were concepts that moved the world and changed it forever. I agreed. And more than that, there was one idea in particular that we discussed more than any other. He and I have taken up this idea as a central concept that has moved our lives and inspired us to a life of service. It's an idea that I want to share with you and to better explain why I believe so much in the work we do at Rising Tide Capital and in entrepreneurship in general. I hope it won't be too scandalous to say that the idea comes from an alternative telling of a well-known parable. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus tells the parable of the shepherd who has 100 sheep. One of them gets lost, and the distraught shepherd searches everywhere. When he finally finds the lost sheep, he embraces it and says, "I love you more than the 99." In Matthew and Luke, the story is basically the same, but the point is more about the shepherd forgiving the lost sheep and welcoming it back into the flock. In this telling of the parable, the shepherd says something really striking, in my opinion. I love you more than the 99. What does that mean? To Alex and I, this idea is the very definition of love. The way Alex describes it, it is that love is a way of engaging with someone that affirms their infinite value. That when God says he loves us, he means that there is no price he would not pay to save us. That each of us is more valuable than the entire rest of the world combined. Wow. Imagine being on the receiving end of that kind of statement. That is a powerful concept. Obviously, the math doesn't work, and the entrepreneurs in here can probably calculate that and say, how? How can each person be more valuable than the rest of the world combined? How can love be true when it says, I love you more than the 99 to more than one person? The statement doesn't seem possible, but that is the point. That kind of radical love that God has shown us is the kind of radical love that he expects us to show others. He's trying to teach us how to love by teaching us what love is. Love says, I love you more than the 99. You are infinitely valuable. So we are called to love in a way that lets people know they are infinitely valuable in a world which tells them the exact opposite. This is the idea that forms the cornerstone of my faith and my work, and is the reason I believe so strongly in social justice and the role that faithful people have to play in this world. But why entrepreneurship? Why have I chosen to start an organization that focuses on assisting entrepreneurs to start and grow successful businesses? To answer that question, I need to go back a little further and tell a story. I want to tell you a story about the most successful entrepreneur I've ever met. This person grew up in a country far, far away from here, all the way on the other side of the world. She didn't have a lot of money, but she had a good life with her family. In fact, when this story begins, she had just had a very beautiful, bright, beautiful girl that she loved with all her heart. One day, a revolution broke out in her country, and overnight, her life changed. A terrible, brutal dictator took over and arbitrarily began killing and attacking all university students in the country. He would send truckfuls of soldiers down the streets of the capital, and they would shoot people dead right in the middle of the street. Tragically, both her brother and sister were killed, and she knew that each day was getting more dangerous for her. So she was faced with a terrifying decision. She had to leave, but she couldn't take her daughter with her. It would be too dangerous. And so, with tears in her eyes and heartbreaking, she left her 2-year-old baby girl in the care of her grieving, distressed mother and father and younger sister, and fled to a refugee camp in a neighboring country. The heroine of our story spent 2 years in this refugee camp, thinking each day about her daughter, until one day she was granted with a visa to come to America. She moved to Boston and got a job as a waitress. Each morning, she would get up at 4 in the morning and work long shifts to scrape together enough money to pay her rent and monthly bills. But it wasn't enough. She needed more money. So this entrepreneurial young woman decided to open a business. It was a humble business, part-time, from home, working as a seamstress, making dresses for her friends and neighbors. She would get up at 4 a.m., work all day, and then come home, work late at night with needle and thread and a sewing machine. But she was very good. And when she combined the money she got from making the dresses with her job as a waitress, she had enough to send back home each month. She insisted her money be used to send her daughter to school, even when there wasn't enough to eat. She also made it loud and clear that her daughter be spared, the customary rite of passage, now commonly known as female genital mutilation. And she was heard. Then one day she received news that her daughter was kidnapped by her biological father and taken far away and out of reach for her parents to do anything about it. The country's laws did not give them enough ability to protect their granddaughter. Although devastated, she kept praying to a faithful God and sewing and saving and praying some more. When she heard her daughter had escaped after a year in captivity and has made it home safe, she sewed even faster. Finally, after 10 years of perseverance, her prayers were answered. Her business had allowed her to save enough money, and she sent her money back for a plane ticket. She was to be reunited with her baby girl. But it wasn't her baby girl that showed up at the airport. It was her 12-year-old daughter, who traveled alone and arrived without knowing a word of English. This young girl studied hard, and 6 years later received a full scholarship to Harvard, where she met and fell in love with a boy and ended up creating a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping other people, just like her mom, to start businesses so that they too could have the chance for their deepest wish of their heart to be answered. The most successful entrepreneur I've ever met is my mom. I am here today because of my mom's love for me and her determination to be reunited. And because of her entrepreneurial spirit that enabled her to work around the clock and save up enough money to bring me over. I am here today because my mom is an entrepreneur. And so, when I think about entrepreneurship and helping other people start successful businesses, I don't think about how great it would be if that person had $1 million in their bank account. I think about what that person is enabled to do with more resources in their life. So I read a book recently called The Soul of Money that says that money is like water that flows through our lives. For some, it is a little stream, and for others, it is a mighty river. For all of us, it flows through us and connects us to the things we value. Money connects us to the things we value. That is the truth of my mom's story as an entrepreneur, and that is what has led me to believe in the power of assisting others to use entrepreneurship as a way to bring more resources into their lives. Which brings me to the present day. When I co-founded Rising Tide Capital with Alex in 2004, the idea was to combine our personal belief in the power of entrepreneurship with the idea that each person is infinitely valuable, and that therefore, if we are able to start something that could help at least one person, that it would be all worth it. So we took a leap of faith and started down an incredible journey together that led last year to being named CNN Heroes and being invited to the White House by President Obama. We never could have imagined it, but the desire remains the same. Each person we work with is the most important person we work with. The organization has changed from our original vision, however. Alex had grown up in New Jersey, so the original idea was to bring microfinance to the inner cities of New Jersey. We had been inspired by the work of Dr. Muhammad Yunus, who won a Nobel Peace Prize in 2006 for his pioneering work in microfinance. What we found, however, was that while access to capital was and is a critical need, there is also a complementary need for the kind of training and education and guidance that could help an entrepreneur take advantage of that kind of capital. In Alex's words, a loan is just more debt unless you know how to use it. When we looked around, however, for partnering organizations that could provide the kind of education, training, and consulting that our microloan recipients would need, we realized that there was nothing out there that was designed for entrepreneurs like my mother in mind. I remember the times when I tried to get my mother help growing her business. Often I would sit in meetings in which questions about her market size, budgets, and cash flow projections would leave the woman I knew to be confident and skilled, paralyzed with a sense of, I don't belong in this world of business. While well-meaning, these programs weren't focused on small micro-entrepreneurs like my mom. They weren't able to help her overcome her fears and uncertainties and meet her where she was. It was then that Alex and I realized that we needed to change the focus of our organization, that for microfinance to work here in America, it has to be combined with a complementary educational infrastructure that can teach startup entrepreneurs the basics of business management and planning without jargon and textbooks and supply-demand curves. And Calvin had joined us for an evening session with our entrepreneurs where we were teaching a course in a bank vault after banking hours and with entrepreneurs from all sorts of different backgrounds. And that's the vision. In 2006, we changed the focus of Rising Tide Capital from providing microloans directly to cultivating an excellence in business education and consulting for startup entrepreneurs in the inner cities of New Jersey. I remember sitting in the audience at last year's forum hearing Jessica Jackley of Kiva discuss their amazing work in microcredit and about how they have more lenders than they do entrepreneurs. The fact is that there are thousands and millions of entrepreneurs right here in our backyard, as well as around the world. But they don't identify themselves as entrepreneurs. They too are saying, we don't belong in this world of business. They work in isolation, often from home, late into the night or on weekends, on top of another job or two to make ends meet. And so Alex and I created a program called the Community Business Academy, whereby Rising Tide Capital provides full scholarships to struggling entrepreneurs in distressed inner cities to attend an intensive 11-week course in business management and planning. Graduates of the Business Academy then receive year-round consulting and advanced seminars through our Business Acceleration Services program. When they are ready, we connect them to our network of lending partners and work with them to access appropriate, affordable capital. Since 2006, we've graduated over 280 entrepreneurs from the Community Business Academy. I'm so proud to say that over 100 of these entrepreneurs are in business today, and an additional 128 are in the planning stages. Over 65% of those entrepreneurs are women, out of which nearly 70 are single mothers. In fact, 70%. In fact, thanks to the generosity of the Grace and Mercy Foundation. In the audience tonight, we have one of our graduates and another entrepreneur who is in the program right now and will be graduating in June. We have the privilege each day to work with extremely talented, hardworking individuals who are using their entrepreneurship as a way to pursue their dream and create economic opportunity for themselves and their families. There's a man who we worked with named Terrence, who, due to a criminal record, has confronted a lot of obstacles finding employment. When he attended our Community Business Academy, he had a job working the overnight shift at the local incinerator. He would show up at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning for class, straight from work, an electronic monitoring bracelet on his ankle. Terrence is a good man with a good heart, and his dream was to become a licensed commercial truck driver, buy a truck, and make a life for himself. He graduated from the Community Business Academy a few years ago, and then we didn't hear from him for a while. Just a few weeks ago, he showed up in front of our office with his commercial license in hand and his truck parked outside. He's in business and says his life has been fundamentally changed by his experience at Rising Tide Capital. And there's Angela, who recently moved here from Colombia and went through the Community Business Academy in order to open a restaurant. In the midst of the recession, she opened her restaurant, creating 5 jobs for her and her employees. There's Bernard, a father to 3 young children working in janitorial services at the local university, who had a dream of starting his own commercial cleaning service. He graduated, we hired him to start cleaning our offices, and now he has over 20 other customers. Bernard doesn't even clean our offices anymore. He hired someone else to do it. We have caterers and designers and DJs and florists and too many stories, and each one of them has been able to come to Rising Tide. And here their dream is important, that they are important, that they are more valuable than the 99. At Rising Tide Capital, we add value to the hard work of entrepreneurs rather than intimidate and overwhelm them. We do this because we know that an investment in them is an investment in their children, in our collective future, and I stand here as living proof. I want to end my remarks with a thought that came to me as I was preparing what I was going to say tonight. I was trying to ask myself the question, what's so special about entrepreneurship? Why have an entire forum about it? As I was thinking about this, I started thinking about the Good Samaritan and about the deep connection between an entrepreneur and a Good Samaritan. This might not come across as the most immediate pairing. Most people think about entrepreneurs as people looking to make money, sometimes in unscrupulous ways, and Samaritans as people maybe looking to give away money. I don't see it that way. I see them both as being good listeners, both as responding to the call of the other, the stranger, the neighbor, in the same way that the Good Samaritan heard the call of the man on the side of the road. Most everyday entrepreneurs have also heard or seen a need and are responding with their ideas and particular gifts and talents. What just might be so special about entrepreneurship is that entrepreneurs are often Samaritans who have found a way to keep responding, who have not just provided for the need of their neighbor as they were walking by, but who have set up shop on the side of the road, providing an emergency medical clinic, or organizing a neighborhood watch to guard against bandits. Entrepreneurs are special because they find sustainable ways of meeting other people's needs. It isn't always that way, but it can be. So I applaud the people in the room tonight who are finding ways to respond to the call of the other, to the needs of the people around them. Whether you are a philanthropist or an artist or a small business owner, I salute you for your creativity and entrepreneurial spirit. In closing, let me just say what excites me about what people share in this room tonight. A passion for entrepreneurship as a way to find sustainable ways to meet the needs of others and engage in deeply meaningful relationships, and a faithful belief in our responsibility to the widow and the orphan, to those less fortunate. When you put them together and realize that our world is filled with billions of very smart, very talented, very hardworking people whose main lack is access to education, access to resources, access to social networks, then you can understand why I am so deeply passionate about the value of investing in these entrepreneurs by providing access to these three types of capital. If what I'm saying makes sense to you, and if you share this vision, I just want to make sure I invite you and welcome you to get involved, either in your own way or through Rising Tide Capital. Rising Tide Capital is a vehicle for people who believe in the power of entrepreneurship to have a multiplier effect in their lives and the lives of other people who are seeking to create better lives for themselves and their families. We exist because of the many committed people who have decided to use the resources in their life, no matter how big or how small, to become connected to what they value. If this mission speaks to you, if you value entrepreneurship and its power to change the world and are looking for a way to get involved, please come introduce yourself this weekend. I will look forward to meeting with you. With that, let me say that I'm looking forward to our time together this weekend, and thank you again for this opportunity and for this wonderful forum. Thank you.